Welcome to the Debrief. Let's get right to it. Tensions are flaring between Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell and Senator Lisa Murkowski, according to an excerpt from a new book. Bob Cusack, Hill editor-in-chief, welcome and tell us more about this story.
Well, Robby, fascinating story. It looks like a very good book, and a behind-the-scenes account of the first impeachment.
Yes, which we have to refresh everyone for that. That was about Ukraine, corruption, etc.
That was the one that Romney was the only Republican to vote for. So Murkowski did not, but she was upset with how Mitch McConnell was handling it because Mitch McConnell was saying, "I'm coordinating with the White House." She didn't like that, and she criticized him publicly. Now, Mitch McConnell has constantly says, listen, I need Republicans. I can't get mad at them. Well, he got mad at her, according to this book, for criticizing him publicly. And it led to some tension, but then they made up later on. But it really is a fascinating look at the relationships. And as you know, Robby, relationships mean everything. Now, apparently, the relationship is repaired, but it was pretty tense back then.
And now the relationship between Trump and McConnell is very bad, which is interesting given how, in that first impeachment, if we recall, and my understanding, part of the reason Murkowski was upset was that it was kind of, set the agenda by McConnell that we're going to be all on the same team here, and that's not really what Murkowski wanted.
Yeah, Murkowski saw it more as, hey, this is a jury. Let's not try to prejudge. But she was upset. At the same time, who is supporting her reelection very strongly right now with money? Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell.
Yep.
Because he is
And Trump, of course, is not.
Right. Didn't Trump made some funny statement about Murkowski, if I recall, that was like, well, I will support her if XYZ conditions are met or something.
Is that right?
I think that's what it was.
He says so much, it's hard to keep track of.
Right. But McConnell, an institutionalist, by some definition, probably the most important Republican official there is, or has unprecedented amounts of power for congressional Republicans, and his agenda has been always advance the Republican Party's interests, put Supreme Court justices who will enact some of these long-running decisions that conservatives have wanted to put into practice on abortion and other fronts for a long time. And he views, so he doesn't want to get into it with Trump because he knows that's bad for Republicans. Right. But it is interesting to look back at all he has done to keep the party together. It's been that first impeachment versus the second one, where there was just no way to avoid letting some Republicans criticize Trump quite sharply, and that's what caused the break.
Right, and that's why Trump and McConnell don't get along, and they don't get along, I think, going forward, no matter what happens. And McConnell does have a lot of power. Trump wants to replace him, of course, in the Senate as the top Republican, but that's not going to happen. But McConnell's power has been curbed by Trump.
If Trump were to use some of his coffers, the money he raises from everything he's doing, and to share that wealth with these candidates the way McConnell does, because they all have to ask, they can't be too mean to McConnell because they're reliant on his super PAC.
Right. Now, Trump is one to endorse, but not really to spend a lot of money. He wants to keep that money, of course.
He'll come to your campaign event, he'll talk mostly about himself, but he'll say some nice things about you.
He wants to save that for himself in 2024.
I guess so. Well, this year, the midterms are expected to shape the 2024 election. So, Bob, the Hill is taking a look at some of the key races. What's on your radar?
Yeah, well, Robby, this is interesting because you have a number of Republicans who are eyeing national office in 2024, but they have to get beyond 2022. And that includes, of course, Governor DeSantis in Florida. He has a re-election. He's expected to win, but he wants to win by more than Trump won Florida in the last election. So he wants to win, not just win, but win big. So win by more than 3 points. That's going to be very important. And of course, there's a lot riding for Trump and Rick Scott and, of course, Biden and Harris, because after the election, some people, based on the results, their stock has gone up and some will have gone down.
Why don't you elaborate on Rick Scott and why that matters? I think that's something that probably a lot of people have not picked up on.
Yeah, Rick Scott is head of the Senate Republican campaign arm. He came out with an agenda that was not well received by some Republicans, including Mitch McConnell. Rick Scott is certainly thinking about running for president down the road, maybe in 2024. So if Republicans fall short of winning the Senate, Rick Scott's stock has gone down. But if they do win it, his stock is way up.
It's been my impression thus far that we're looking at it's Trump or it's DeSantis.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are other names. There are other Republicans, a lot of them who want to be president. People like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz again.
Marco Rubio,
Marco
maybe.
Rubio,
Yeah.
and then other governors. Greg Abbott has some aspirations. The Texas governor making some waves on social media policy, censorship, some trans issues, gender issues, kind of the conservative the stuff that's really firing up the base.
Right.
Obviously, not getting quite as much attention as DeSantis. Is it the case? It seems to me that it's almost a race for who would be the VP pick if DeSantis overcomes Trump.
Yeah, right now those two I think are the clear leaders. Yeah. I think there's going to be some jostling for that, because Trump and DeSantis at some point I think are both going to run, and they're both going to go at each other, and maybe they hurt each other, and then one of these other candidates maybe can slide into third place. But you're right. Right now it's Trump versus DeSantis, and the tension between the two men is only growing.
Someone else in that article you're referencing about who matters in these midterms and how it's going to shape them is Kristi Noem, another governor. I think seen as a very strong VP contender, really for Trump or DeSantis.
Yes.
Probably.
Oh, I think she's a leading contender for VP. And as you mentioned, she could run for president. She has a re-election this fall. She's going to easily win in that red state. But watch Kristi Noem, former House member, governor now, bright future in the Republican Party.
Big on COVID restrictions.
Yes.
I think obviously many Republican figures, including DeSantis, made a name for themselves being against certain pandemic restrictions in their own states, mandates federally, nationally, et cetera. I think she almost more even so than anyone else really was about the attacks on individual freedom and the business community and lockdowns and those kinds of things.
And that resonates, as you know, the Republican Party, but especially Trump. And I would say it's so early, so much time to go and candidates to get in. But I think that Noem, we know that Trump is not going to, if he wins the nomination, he's not going to pick Pence, right? That's off the table.
Not, yeah.
I think Noem is actually the leading contender.
That's interesting. I can absolutely see that. Will his star fall a little bit if so many of these candidates that he had a large role in making in the primary, causing them to be the Republican contender? Yep. This is true in Arizona. Blake Masters is someone very close to him. J.D. Vance in Ohio, Herschel Walker in Georgia, Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. Several of these races, most people, myself included, I think you included, expect to not go the GOP's way, but be very close.
Yes.
So is Trump going to face renewed criticism from Republican conservative commentators on Fox, in the media, and other places when Dr. Oz comes up just short? If Dr. Oz comes up just short, and Herschel Walker comes up just short, and Blake Masters comes up just short.
Yes, but with a caveat. Trump is not going to say it's my fault, right?
No.
It's going to say it's Rick Scott's fault. It's Mitch McConnell's fault. And we're already seeing kind of the fingers pointing already, and that's a bad sign for the GOP. But yes, I think if Republicans don't win the Senate, Trump will be blaming others, but he'll be taking some of the blame as well.
DeSantis could come out looking better and better.
Maybe. He's certainly closing the gap.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thanks, Robby.
And thanks for watching.